Just weeks from the election, new records show congressional candidate Georgette Gomez failed to report $100,000 in income on taxes. Who she's blaming.
And caught on video, an altercation over a mask turns ugly at an Imperial Beach taco shop.
Plus, the U.S. Open is returning to San Diego for the first time in 13 years. The preparations already in full swing.
This special edition of ABC 10 News starts now.
Just days after returning to the White House from the hospital, President Trump is planning to hold his first public event since testing positive for COVID-19. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Tomorrow's event at the White House is causing some concern among the president's inner circle, which has been rocked by, of course, that outbreak of the illness. Here is ABC's Elizabeth Schulze.
A week after he went to the hospital to get treated for COVID-19, President Trump's health is still in question. Trump admitting to radio show host Rush Limbaugh he wasn't in great shape last week, but now insisting he feels perfect and touting the treatment he received.
We're rounding the turn on the pandemic because I'm telling you, we have a cure. More than just a therapeutic, we have a cure.
The White House physician, Dr. Sean Conley, revealing few details about Trump's condition, but saying the president is clear to resume his public schedule as soon as Saturday. Conley has previously made false statements about Trump's treatment. White House aides are still refusing to answer when the president last tested negative for COVID, a crucial detail for contact tracing.
I can't reveal that at this time. The doctors would like to keep it private.
Before Trump contracted the virus, the White House would disclose his COVID test results. The White House itself remains a COVID hotspot. In an interview with CBS News, Dr. Anthony Fauci calling out the administration's refusal to follow health protocols at the Rose Garden event for Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
We had a super spreader event in the White House, and it was in a situation where people were crowded together and were not wearing masks. So the data speak for themselves.
ABC News has confirmed 2 more members of the White House residence tested positive for COVID nearly 3 weeks ago, bringing the number of residential staff who tested positive at that time to at least 4. Meantime, House Democrats unveiling a bill that would create a panel to determine if a president is fit to lead under the 25th Amendment.
This is not about President Trump. He will face the judgment of the voters. But he shows the need for us to create a process for future presidents.
Sources tell ABC News President Trump will host an in-person event tomorrow at the White House. He's expected to discuss law and order, and he will reportedly address the crowd from the White House balcony. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
And next week's debate between the president and Joe Biden is officially canceled for now. Instead, Biden will participate in a town hall in Philadelphia. ABC News will host that event on Thursday, October the 15th. It will be moderated by ABC News chief anchor George Stephanopoulos. You can watch it live here on ABC 10. Coverage begins at 5 o'clock. And here is the latest on the coronavirus in San Diego County. 357 new cases were reported today. It brings the total close to 50,000, and there were 2 more deaths, bringing that total to 821.
Tonight, questions about a congressional candidate who didn't report on her tax returns. Both candidates, hoping to win the 53rd district, released their returns. And we asked Team 10 investigator Adam Rakusin to look into them.
Tax returns. They're a part of campaign season from the presidential level down to the local level. That's no different in the 53rd District congressional race between Sarah Jacobs and Georgette Gomez. Both candidates released 3 years of tax returns. After looking through the numbers, Gomez's returns show some discrepancies. Gomez's 2017 tax return shows she reported almost $60,000 from pension income but reported 0 in actual wages. According to Transparent California, Gomez made more than $75,000 that year from her job as a San Diego City Council member, and an additional $17,000. University of San Diego professor of law Ariel Giroux-Kleiman specializes in federal tax law. We asked her to look at the filing.
There were no reported wages, so that there was a 0 on the line where you would normally report your wages.
The numbers on Gomez's 2018 return also don't match the dollar amount she reported on a financial disclosure report for congressional candidates. The tax discrepancies were first noted in a story by the San Diego Union Tribune. In response to the discrepancies, Gomez released this statement saying in part, "Like most people, I trusted my accountant to file my taxes accurately, and I was shocked to find out that my 2017 returns were not properly filed. My accountant has taken responsibility for the errors. But I too take responsibility, and I filed a corrected return and paid the back taxes.
If you make a mistake on your tax return or underreport something, or if you overreport something, you can file an amended tax return. You have to do it within a certain amount of time.
The Gomez team has been sending out emails pushing for her opponent Sarah Jacobs to release her returns. A spokesperson for Jacobs tells ABC 10 News the Gomez campaign spent weeks misleading voters and crying wolf about Sarah's tax returns, only to have the real story be their candidate's own negligence. With 25 days until Election Day, now would be a good time for the Gomez campaign to get their own house in order. ABC 10 News looked through Jacobs' tax returns. It shows most of her income came from dividends and capital gains. About $7 million in 2019, $2 million in 2018, and around $4 million in 2017. Jacobs' tax returns show she paid around $3 million in taxes over those years. Adam Rakusin, ABC 10 News.
ABC 10 News reached out to the tax preparer listed on Gomez's returns for comment. We have not yet gotten a response.
A North County mother claims that police used excessive force on her son. Now she is sharing her story publicly for the first time. Our Team 10 investigator Melissa Messiha shows us what led up to this incident and how the city of Oceanside is responding. We do want to warn you, some of these images, they may be disturbing.
Nearly 2 years later,
it was horrible.
Josette Piper is still coming to terms with what happened to her son Timothy.
I couldn't even watch the whole video. It's very hard for me. Very, very hard. I'm sorry.
She's referring to November 22nd, 2018. This is police body camera video provided by the family's lawyer as officers enter the home where her son was staying. But let's start from the beginning. According to a lawsuit filed against Oceanside Police and the city, a report of tire slashing was called in by Timothy's father. His father had a restraining order against him, yet often invited him to visit. The lawsuit states his father called police, also mentioned there were guns already in the home.
Timothy!
Police came to investigate. Tim, inside, did not come out. Video shows police outside his door. An officer picked the lock, shining a light into his room.
Hands! Hands, let me see your hands now.
Bring the dog up.
You're gonna get bit.
With the police dog barking, you hear someone say, "Crawl him out," a command the Piper's attorney called confusing.
Hey, crawl him out.
Crawl out.
The suspect.
We froze the moment right before an officer pushed him with a shield so you can see him better. Team 10 agreed to blur Tim's face. He was wearing only boxers with one hand raised, the other by his rib cage. His attorney said it appeared he was sleeping right before this. A second video showed Tim on the ground after being shoved back into the room, hands up, feet on the floor.
Don't move or you're getting bit.
Police pulled him up to arrest him. After that, the dog was released.
He's in full surrender mode, and it's captured on video, and they yank him up, they pull him up by his arm, he trips over some clothes, and then it's just a brutal, multi-tactical attack on him at every different angle as he's screaming, for his life.
Pictures showed his injuries, some of them pretty graphic. The lawsuit said one officer admitted to punching him with a closed fist and putting him in a chokehold. It said another shot him with a rubber bullet while Tim's arm was in the canine's mouth.
There was a point in that video where he actually was asking, "Dad, Dad." And they were still on top of him. Is that still a threat?
Tim has a criminal history. His most recent cases included public intoxication and possessing drug paraphernalia. But Josette said her son is schizophrenic, dealing with addiction.
Do you feel that these officers were equipped to handle someone who has mental illness issues?
Not at all. I don't think so.
The Oceanside City Attorney defended officers. John Mullen said they waited more than an hour before entering the bedroom. At least 44 orders were made demanding Tim exit the room. He added one of Tim's hands was obscured, so officers deployed less than lethal tactics, including the canine. The city attorney said officers were called to the same address a month before, and Tim was combative and injured two of them. I asked if officers knew his mental health history and if the psychiatric emergency response team was requested. He said the city has no information concerning his mental state at the time of the incident or now. The family's lawyers dispute that, saying officers were aware of it from meetings they've had with opposing counsel. Josette wants to get her son help and firmly believes this could have been handled differently.
They need to be accountable for what happened.
Melissa Masiha, Team 10.
Both sides failed to reach a settlement. This case is scheduled for trial late next year. A City Heights man is in the hospital tonight after being shot in the chest in front of his own family. This was in the 4200 block of Juniper Street. When police arrived, they found the man conscious and breathing. He was taken to the hospital. Children playing sports in nearby Hollywood Park, they were taken to a safe place until their parents could come and pick them up. Right now, there is no description of the shooter, who is still at large tonight. No word on what led to the shooting.
Former Chargers quarterback Ryan Leaf is pleading guilty to domestic violence. He was arrested in Palm Desert Memorial Day weekend. Leaf has had ups and downs since the Chargers picked him in the first round in 1998. His career never panned out with the NFL, and he later went to prison on drug and burglary charges. In recent years, Leaf has worked with addicts, helping them stay sober. He's also become a television football analyst, and under the plea deal, he'll get probation, and he must attend anti-domestic violence classes. As PGA Tour players get set for the upcoming Masters here in San Diego, preparations are already in full swing for the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines in June. And as ABC 10 News reporter Steve Smith tells us, there's good reason why the USGA looks at Torrey as a very special course.
Sunday, just outside of San Diego, beautiful La Jolla, California.
You just don't throw together a U.S. Open golf tournament. It takes a lot of time. And with the 2021 Open making its return to Torrey Pines, the USGA started their preparation already a year ago.
So whether that's recruiting our several thousand volunteers and our marshal clubs for the championship, it's contracting all of our hotels, our parking and transportation plan, and our operations team really focuses on the site plan, so where all the hospitality tents are going to go.
Now, since the U.S. Open began back in 1895, the tournament has only been held at 6 different public courses, which would include Torrey Pines.
Torrey Pines is, top of the class, and every single year they have a great PGA Tour event, and it's a no-brainer for us to come back to Torrey, and the views from the golf course don't hurt either.
Of course, the 2008 Open at Torrey Pines goes down as one of the best ever.
2008 was such a fantastic championship when Tiger sank that 12-footer on 18 to send it to a Monday playoff with Rocco, and then to top 2008 will definitely be difficult.
Now, one of the biggest questions for 2021 has to do with the pandemic. Just how is the USGA preparing at this time?
We're hoping to have fans, and we're optimistic, but we'll see how the next several months progress, and obviously we'll do it in the safest possible manner.
Steve Smith, ABC 10 News.